before the break, you mentioned that you were a military brat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your dad was in the Air Force. How long was he in the Air Force?
He was in the Air Force for, I want to say 36 years.
36 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
something like that.
So anybody with any association or understanding of what that's like, you obviously moved around quite a bit. So how were you able to kind of get adjusted in every place? Was that difficult to grow up moving all the time?
I mean, it's all I knew. So I only knew it was different when I would meet kids like in middle school that are just like, oh yeah, I live in the same house I was born in. And I was like, I haven't even been to Wichita and been able to form a sentence because I was born in Wichita, Kansas, but I had not been back there since. I think it taught me a lot about being adaptable, just being able to adapt quickly to new environments. It really equipped me for this industry because each time you shoot a movie, each time you shoot a show, it's this instant family you create. It's temporary. And I'm able to sort of go through the grieving process of leaving those insta families relatively quickly. But yeah, I think it taught me a lot. I think I had to unlearn some stuff as a result. I think a lot of my connections prior to college, I didn't want to give myself completely over emotionally to people because I knew I would leave. And so it would be friendships where the depth wasn't sort of equitable. So it would be like, getting rich, deep connection from one side. And I was afraid to sort of really allow myself to be vulnerable because I didn't want to leave. And so I sort of had to unlearn that self-protection, sort of self-preservation mechanism. But I got better with it.
Mm-hmm. So at what point did this dream in your mind form that you wanted to get into entertainment?
I was always performing. Truly. My dad is an early adapter, so he used to have those VHS, like the camera that sits on your shoulder. That was my dad. And I was always in front of the camera. I was a camera hog. I did Vacation Bible School drama. So I was on the stage.
Vacation Bible School drama.
If you don't know about VBS, then I don't know if you know about me.
I know about Vacation Bible School. I just didn't know that there was a drama component to it.
Well, I found it. And
Okay.
so, I mean, it was always performing it, church plays. And then I got involved in plays in school very quickly. And I graduated high school and I went to school for journalism. And I believed very deeply that my parents was just like, they wanted me to do something quote unquote legitimate. And I didn't want to do, theater.
The fact that they thought was journalism is kind of funny.
It's kind of funny. And so I told them, I was like, yeah, you know what? Acting was just what I did in high school. But every journalism program I applied to was at a school that had a better acting program. And after my first semester, I knew that I was doing the play I was at Ithaca College my freshman year. And they have an amazing theater program. And I did audition for their play as like a civilian because I wasn't in the program, and I got in, and I went home that Christmas and I told my parents very sort of like emotionally, I was just like, I've been pretending, and I had to come out as a thespian, and I was just like, this is who I am. And they're like, yeah, we thought it was so weird that you did journalism. Like we just knew you were going to major in theater. So I tried to create this whole after school special with them, and they got me because they were just like, yeah, transfer, like, major in what you want to major in. And so I went to University of Maryland after that because I got a full ride for acting because I auditioned for them in between semesters, and then just knew once it's like when you're walking in your purpose and you know that you are doing what you meant to be doing and called to do, everything just locks into place. And so as soon as I started studying theater, I was just like, I exhaled. And it's the most unpredictable profession, but I had like such calm about it because I was just like, studying, Greek tragedy and, Shakespeare and doing all of the classical stuff, really, it felt like home to me. So that's the sort of when I knew I was like, I'm doing the right thing.
Now, but you, you were a writer. You performed a lot, but you kind of came in through the writing way. Yeah. Was that always your intention, or is that just an opportunity that materialized?
A little bit of both. I think I was always in college, I would write short plays and audition pieces for myself because much like the, state of Hollywood, the roles and things in plays that I would find to audition with and for were very sort of gendered and very sort of stereotypical Black, sort of just like roles, and just sort of like oppression porn pieces of theater. And they were great, but for me, I'm just like, oh, what's the story about the awkward Black girl? Where it's just like, so I would write pieces. So I was always writing, but I was performing mostly. And then when I moved to New York, I really got heavily involved in the comedy scene, never doing stand-up, but like improv and sketch and storytelling. And it was that work that got SNL. And my audition for SNL was for acting. So I was auditioning to be one of the players on the show. And they didn't take me there, but they loved my work. And so they were just like, you had, one of the best written pieces that we've seen. Would you write for the show? And so it was a very interesting pivot of just sort of like, oh, I thought my entry point would be this, but it was the other, which I think what made Insecure all the more poetic for me, because I got to come back to doing both. And so that sort of made it sort of really sort of like made it real to me that doing both is sort of what made me the most happy, which I think is why, like, the writing part is why my fake major was journalism at the beginning, because I love to write. My parents, like, to me, I was like, well, if I can't act, I'll write. And then this was a way for me to do both creatively.
Now, what was it like writing for Saturday Night Live? You only did it a year, I think, right?
Yeah, I only did it for a year. It was a comedy boot camp. It was really, really a masterclass in writing comedy and working with some of the most sort of funny and smart creative minds possible. And I really do believe iron sharpens iron. And so I was able to, I think, become a better writer, just based on math, because I think it's just like, I really subscribe to the idea of being prolific and not perfect. And so I was there. You are prolific writers when you write for the show, because you're writing easily 100 sketches. Like, you're just writing, and it's about the quantity of getting out these sketches, and your inner critic kind of has to go on vacation, so that way you can actually meet deadlines. And so I found that my writing got better because I wasn't censoring myself as much. But it's hard as fuck. Like, there are whole books written about like how that grind is hard and very, very difficult. And as a woman of color in the room, that had its own complications, because it's a 40-year-old, primarily white institution. And so I think that, like, I'm not saying anything new in that respect. So that's what I'm trying to think about, like the positive things that I've gleaned from it, which is definitely sort of something I'm thankful for.
Well, is it some of those complications? Is that why you only spent a year there?
Well, I was there because my contract was not renewed for the following year. And I think grief was met very quickly by relief, because I wouldn't have been able to do, and everything has a reason and a season and a purpose. And I think that I definitely am grateful for the year that I had there, but I'm also grateful that it ended when it did, because for me, I was able to immediately go into writing my sketch show for Netflix, my half-hour special. Then I was able to go into Insecure. July is when I found out about SNL, and that September I started Insecure. And so it was really sort of like a wonderfully timed thing that I only can appreciate in hindsight. As I think a lot of people in this field, they don't realize sort of like how things are going to play out. You know what I mean? And so you look back, you're like, oh man, if I had went left there, that would have been crazy.
Yeah.
And then look back at my career, there's so many things where I'm, bet on me instead of taking sort of the more sort of safe path. And we've all had been presented with a beautiful opportunity that we had to say no to, and we took a risk. And so I feel really grateful for those decisions being made for me and the ones that I've made that led to this moment.
It seems like in terms of you as a performer, not just a writer, that you have a lot going on now in that area.
Yeah.
What can you say about Sonic the Hedgehog, which you're in?
I am in. It is incredible to be a part of a movie about a game that I played in 1991.
I played it growing up too. So.
Yes, and I wear my Sonic blue today. No, I think that there's so much revisiting of the past right now, because I think we're all nostalgic for a time before this current president, and so we're just like creating.
We're trying to cling to
a world before. Yes, and so It's really a beautiful, beautiful film where it's hilarious, it's family friendly, it is speaking to, us old heads who like remember it, and it's introducing this, really fun character to young kids, and everyone. This is the first time I was able to work with Tika Sumpter, who's incredible. We play sisters, which is so fun, and the director Jeff Fowler, James Marsden, Jim Carrey. Like, it's just an amazing, amazing cast. I feel like if I were to travel back in the past and tell young me playing this game, being like, "Yo, you're gonna be in this movie," the younger me would scream because it would be like, "Who are you? And why do you look so good?" But I think that like I never stop pinching myself when I think about what I'm doing right now and being able to be a part of that movie.
Well, I imagine it must feel the same as it relates to Wonder Woman, right?
I mean, come on.
Like, everybody wants to be Wonder Woman. I wanted a lasso.
I wanted I wanted invisible, like, everything.
Yeah.
I think that, like, being a part of that project is wild. It's such an amazing sort of, like, canon. Like, when you think of, like, Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, all the way up to Gal Gadot. And so for me to be able to say that, we're in a movie together is just bananas. And I'm excited for people to see it. Like, it's coming out this summer. And
because you get in on that summer blockbuster that,
I know.
That comic book summer blockbuster. That's what we made it.
I know. That's what we made it.
That's what we made it, right?
That's what we made. That's what we made it. I mean, if you blink, you might miss me the film, but
it don't matter.
It don't matter. Look, it don't matter. I'm in the credits. We
That's
good.
right.
I mean, we good. But yeah, it's incredible. Patty Jenkins is just a phenomenal director, and for a woman to be at the helm of like a superhero movie is just it's just a real treat to be a part of.
So, do you think you would ever get to a point where you would leave writing behind? Like, if acting got even more busier than you already are, which is pretty busy, but like if this explodes,
yeah.
like, would you ever consider not writing?
No, I think for me, I'm at my most sort of like peace when I'm able to do both. I think that the sheer luck, divine intervention that I'm able to do both on Insecure. I don't know if I can create that lightning in a bottle again, but alternating between writing now and acting now is something I think I'll always do, where I will vacillate between the two. And I'm nothing if not ambitious. So I plan on adding directing to the mix and adding, more producing into the mix. And so to me, it's just creative expression sort of in the becoming that is acting, when you're sort of putting on a character, putting on their past, and you're living in their present, and you're thinking about that character's future, is a different muscle than sort of puppeteering a whole world. And to me, it's a different muscle that I love thinking about story and storytelling in that way. They're both storytelling, but it's just two different muscles. So I'd love to continue to do both.